For the next 7 days, I'll be watching a Christian movie every day to finally see if Christian films are really as boring as people say. There are 3 rules to this challenge. Firstly, each movie I watch has to be from a different genre. Secondly, I have to write an honest review and rate each movie out of 5 stars, with no holding back. And lastly, I have to answer the age-old question: are Christian movies as good as secular ones? With that being said, let's watch our first movie. We're here at the cinemas to watch this new film called David, which is an animation, so that's the first out of the 7 genres that we're watching. After today, I'm going to be spinning a wheel to randomize the order of the movie genres we're watching. For some context, the film is about a boy named David who is actually a prominent person from the Bible, specifically from the book of Samuel in the Old Testament. A lot of you watching probably know or at least have heard the story of David and Goliath. I had high expectations coming into this because I watched another movie not that long ago which I really enjoyed, and it was The King of Kings. Now, I'm pretty sure David is produced by the same studio who made The King of Kings, so I had high hopes. We went in, waited for the horrendously long pre-movie ads to finish, and then we watched the movie. My favorite thing about both The King of Kings and David is that they're targeted towards a younger audience, even though a little kid did start crying during one of the scary scenes. But I genuinely do believe that making films like these are a great way of getting children to become curious about Jesus and about the Bible, which can help open up doors to very valuable conversations. Once it was finished, I'm gonna be honest, I was slightly underwhelmed. But I'm not saying it was bad. In fact, I actually thought it was a really good movie. It's probably just my fault for having unrealistically high expectations. Anyway, before I give my honest review on it, here's the criteria that I made to judge each film with. I'm evaluating every movie based on its story, characters, production quality, message, and overall entertainment value. Then I'll give a final rating out of 5 stars. So here's my review. The new David movie has polished animation and pretty good pacing. The songs did sound nice, but honestly, none of them were memorable, and I forgot what they sounded like after leaving the cinemas. However, the film did have a good message, contrasting pride and jealousy with humility and courage. Overall, the film was entertaining and meaningful, and I think is a great way to introduce the Bible story to children. Goliath looked weird though. 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, so for the next 6 days, I'm going to be spinning this wheel to decide which genre we'll have to pick a movie from. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't want to watch horror today because I'm just really not in the mood for that. But I wouldn't mind getting something like fantasy or romance, something pretty chill. I'm going to just rotate it like this first. Wait, nope. What is that? I can't see. I'm gonna show the camera first. It's romance! Picking a Christian drama movie was honestly very easy because there's just so many of them, and so I decided to watch this one titled War Room, which was released in 2015. Now, a common issue that can happen with a lot of Christian films is they can tend to feel very preachy. This usually happens when they use more dialogue to tell a message instead of letting the story speak for itself. And this was the problem with War Room. As a Christian, I obviously appreciate when a film is trying to teach a good lesson, but when it's done mainly through dialogue, it becomes much less effective. The whole point of cinematography is to use the other elements of film to tell the story you're trying to tell and to convey the message you're trying to convey. For example, if you want to show the negative impacts of pride, don't just make one of the characters say, "Pride will destroy you." Instead, show how a character's pride has consequences and let the events that unfold show the damage that pride can cause. This is a much more effective way of getting the audience to think and actually getting them to feel, not just hear. Honestly, when I was watching War Room, it felt like I was being lectured throughout the movie, and I doubt anyone likes being lectured, especially when they're trying to enjoy a movie. So here's my honest review on War Room. The film sprinkles a lot of biblical lessons throughout the movie and has really good pacing. However, the movie does a lot of telling instead of showing. When they're trying to convey a message, it was mostly done through dialogue, which made the movie feel very preachy. A lot of the characters also felt unrealistic. Overall, it wasn't horrible. 2.5 stars. Okay, we're in day 3. If we spin the wheel and it lands on drama, we're going to do a respin because obviously we did drama yesterday, so let's spin. I'll watch the camera first. What is it? Don't tell me. Oh yes! Musical, let's go! Now finding a musical Christian film was both hard and easy at the same time. Hard because there weren't many options, and easy because, well, there weren't many options. So I ended up with this movie called A Week Away, which has both singing and dancing. One key difference that I noticed with this movie compared to War Room was that even the very Christian characters who seemed like they were strong in their faith still had their own struggles. This not only made them feel more real and human, but it also made the movie feel a lot less preachy compared to War Room. A lot of the characters experience things like self-doubt, guilt, low self-esteem, and anger. This gave a lot of room for character development and allows us as the audience to emotionally connect with them. Now, something funny that I found about the movie was how they played into the cliche of people going to Christian camps with the hopes of finding love, which, let's be honest, is true. A lot of people go for that reason to begin with. Anyway, in my opinion, the movie was very normal and there's not really much to say about it, so here's my short review on A Week Away. The movie is funny, the songs are catchy, the cinematography was pretty, the characters were relatable and not preachy. Overall, it was an enjoyable watch. 3.5 stars. It's day number 4, which means we're officially halfway through the challenge, and that also means we have 4 more movies to go. Let me just turn the camera around. Let's try and give this a good spin. What is that? Oh, fantasy! Okay. Trying to find a Christian fantasy movie, I was honestly skeptical at first because fantasy, Christian, those two don't usually go together, so I wasn't even sure if such a movie even existed. But I went on Google, searched for fantasy Christian movies, and one of the first things that came up was The Chronicles of Narnia, the first one. I was confused at first because I've watched Narnia before and I don't exactly remember it being Christian. However, after a bit of research, it turns out that Narnia is an allegorical story that includes a lot of Christian theology and was written by C.S. Lewis, who was a Christian author. So, watching it this time around, my goal was to approach it from a Christian perspective and try to identify any biblical themes that I could find. And doing so really changed the experience for me. As I was watching it, I noticed so many references to Christianity and the Bible. Not just with themes like resurrection, forgiveness, and sacrifice, but there were even references to Bible quotes. For example, after Aslan, the lion, kills the Ice Witch, he says, "It is finished," which were the exact same words that Christ said in John chapter 19 verse 30 before he died. And just for some context, Aslan is understood to be a representation of Jesus, which is made more clear when you look at the other parallels like him sacrificing himself and then coming back to life. Now, one of my favorite parts about this whole thing is the level of creativity behind it. Not just with the actual setting of the movie and the fact that the kids entered a different world through a wardrobe, but that this story serves as a fun and accessible way to explore Christian themes. So here's my review on The Chronicles of Narnia. The movie has done a fantastic job at world building and character development. Christian themes like self-sacrifice and good versus evil are woven naturally into the story, and I also liked how there were a few references to the Bible. Overall, the movie delivered meaningful themes while still being very entertaining. 4.5 stars. This is day 5, and as you can see, we have 3 more movies to go, so let's spin the wheel. Okay, so it landed on musicals, so we'll have to do a redo. Alright. It landed on romance. In the same case as with drama, finding a faith-based romance movie was very easy because there's a bunch of them. I ended up choosing to watch a film called I Still Believe, which in a nutshell is about a guy who marries a girl with cancer and basically goes on an emotional roller coaster. This is based on a true story where the main character's faith is tested after his wife dies from cancer. It's quite refreshing to watch a romance movie like this because with secular romances these days, a lot, if not most of them, don't even portray love in a good way. It's all just about having fun, hooking up, cheating, and having intercourse. But with this film, it shows how love is about being there for the other person and not giving up even when it's hard. Anyway, one of my favorite quotes from the movie, which was said by Melissa, the one who had cancer, which I found very inspiring, was this: She said, "If one person's life is changed by my story, then it will all be worth it." And I love this because it's a great example of what a faithful attitude looks like. Instead of blaming God for what she was going through, she saw it as an opportunity to help others and to bring glory to God. I think we can all learn from this, and if there's ever a time that any of us are struggling, we should ask ourselves, what would God want from this? What could His purpose be for allowing this to happen? Doing so can help us to give Him the room that He needs to work through us. With that being said, here's my review on I Still Believe. From the cinematography to the songs to even the acting, this film was absolutely beautiful. Something about it kept drawing me deeper and deeper. They've done a great job with the emotional storytelling, and I think this is a good example of how God can be glorified with the art of film. The earlier dialogue scenes felt unrealistic, but overall, I don't regret watching it. 4 stars. Here we are on day 6. This is our second last day of the challenge and our last time spinning the wheel. As you can see, we have 2 movies left to go, and it's actually kind of crazy that the 2 genres left standing are action and horror, given that they're the most intense genres on the list. I promise this is not scripted. Whenever I spin the arrow, whatever it lands on, I actually have to find a movie from that genre, and that's what I've been doing. It's just a coincidence that the last 2 are action and horror. Anyway, let's spin the wheel for the last time. Final spin. Okay, do again. Oh, we're watching horror today, which means action is our last genre. For a while now, I found that watching horror movies can be a great way of reminding myself that evil does exist, and that we're in a constant battle against it every day of our lives. Sometimes there are periods in my life where I get very comfortable, and I kind of forget that the stakes are very high, and I'm talking about hell. I find myself getting caught up in the routines of praying and reading the Bible and going to church, but kind of doing all these things without much intention. Like I'm kind of just doing it, if that makes sense. And so I noticed that watching horror movies or even listening to true horror stories kind of gives me a slap in the face and reminds me of what living a faithful life is for and what I'm trying to avoid. Again, that being hell. While trying to find a horror movie to watch, I came across this one called Nefarious, which is about a serial killer who, in prison, tells a psychiatrist that he is a demon. I'm not going to get into all the details of what happened, but one part that stuck out to me was when the demon explained their ultimate goal of trying to destroy humanity because of how much they hated God. Also, there were multiple times throughout the movie where the demon showed how much he liked seeing humans experience pain and suffer. For me, all of this served as a reminder of how evil demons really are, and that there is absolutely no way I want to spend the rest of my eternity with them in hell when I could be spending it with God in heaven. The truth is, God is either real or He's not. If He isn't real, then nothing we do matters, and following Him would only waste the short amount of time that we're here on earth. But if God is real, then choosing not to follow Him would be risking spending eternity in hell, and that's much longer than our time here on earth. Anyway, here's my review on Nefarious, which by the way basically means wicked. Even though most of the movie was pretty much just a conversation, I was really invested. In my opinion, the wickedness of evil was well represented, and I think the actors did a great job with their performance. Despite not being that scary for a horror movie, I enjoyed watching it, but it's not something I would watch again. 3 stars. Finally, our last movie genre is action. I decided to watch Hacksaw Ridge, which was released in 2016, and I'm just going to say it, out of all the movies we watched in this video, this was my favorite. Based on a true story, it's basically about a guy who joins the army but doesn't want to kill because it goes against his Christian values. So instead, he serves as a medic, and he gets bullied because he doesn't want to pick up a gun. At first, he was considered a coward, but when he joined the battlefield, he ended up saving a bunch of people's lives, which then gained everyone's respect. One of my favorite scenes from the movie was when the protagonist was getting abused and given the opportunity to hit the abuser back, he chose not to. This This was a great example of what true strength looks like. And this is what Jesus was like. Even when he was getting mocked and tortured, he chose forgiveness instead of cursing his enemies. Romans chapter 12 verse 21 says, "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." And honestly, in my opinion, this Bible verse resonated throughout the whole movie. But apart from the message, the cinematic quality of the movie was just amazing. So here's my honest review on Hacksaw Ridge. This movie was an absolute masterpiece. Having a lot of gore really showed the true horrors of war, and the main character was a great example of what it looks like to have Christian values, especially in the face of adversity. Definitely recommend. 4.7 stars. So now to finally answer the big question. Are Christian movies as good as secular ones? My answer is yes. I think it's pretty clear that from this video, we can see that Christian films can definitely be entertaining. Although one key takeaway we can get is that if you're making a movie, let the story show the message you want to tell, because that's what it's for. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you in the next one.